Hey, what's up, everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome back to another live stream here on Manimal Reacts. How you guys doing today? Happy Monday. It's Monday. 2 weeks after my mom's death. I can't believe it's been 2 weeks since my mom died. Wow. Time flies by, man. Let me tell you. Can you believe it's been 2 weeks? Rest in peace, Mom. We'll be taking care of her memorial services this Friday. So rest in peace, Mom. I'm sorry you're gone. I miss you. I'll always miss you, Mom. You're great. You were a great person and a great mom. Allie Books, how you doing, Allie? I'm hanging in there, Allie, hanging in there. Justin does ASMR. How you doing, Justin? Sean B, what's up? Dr. Eve, how you doing, Dr. Eve? Nice to see you. Rich, hi, Rich. Early tonight? Early? Why did you say early? It's 11:50. It's late. Wow. How is it 11:50 already? Oh my God. Well, I'm getting off at 2 o'clock in the morning, so I'm here from 11:50 to 2 a.m. Then I gotta go. Anybody else here? Ray, how you doing, Ray? I see you. How you doing? Brian P. knows. What's up? I think your mic is over. Maybe another mic is over. Let me check. Thank you. Let me check out what maybe another mic is using. Maybe another mic is being used instead of the one that's supposed to be used. Thank you for the heads up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. The microphone is from my camera, I think. What about now? Is it better now? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, mother effing 3. Better now? All right, thank you for the heads up. How's everybody doing today? You guys had a good day? How's everybody's Monday? Way better, Justin? Thank you. Really? Way better, Justin? How bad does it sound? I mean, listen, I'm gonna listen to my microphone. I'm gonna listen to myself. Oh yeah. Well, it sounds good to me now too. Mondays suck. Yeah, well, get used to that, Allie. You have to start liking Mondays. Start liking Mondays, and you'll be better off. Trust me. That's what I did. I started liking Mondays. My life got better. It's been 6 years since your mom passed away. Wow, that's crazy, Justin. 6 years. So sad. No. May she rest in peace. Or everybody who lost their mom, may they rest in peace. All moms. And dads. You know? Well, it sound like an iPhone? Yeah. Yeah, different. This is a different microphone. My microphone was from the camera, so it's not that clear. It's a microphone like this. This microphone right here is professional. A microphone on here, not that professional on a phone. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Fuck winter. Fuck winter. Winter. The ground the groundhog saw the groundhog dog saw his shadow today. So that means you get 6 more weeks of winter. It's gonna be a long winter, guys. The groundhog dog saw his shadow today. You're much calmer and better since you moved. Well, yeah. Why do you feel you're more calmer and better since you moved, Allie? I'm just curious. And where were you living before that, Allie? You were living in what part of Queens were you in? You don't believe in Groundhog Day? Why not, Jubble? What's up, Doc Bones? Wonder Matters, how you doing? Oh. Let's do this. Let's get the life verdict out. Who's that person? You said that girl. All right, let's go, boys. Queens, South Ozone Park. Oh. South Ozone Park. It's nice over there. I like it there. That's a nice neighborhood, Allie. South Ozone Park is nice. I would probably sit there. You want more of a chill area. Now you're more in a chill area. You're probably more relaxed now, right? Mm. Michael Tinley, thank you very much for your membership, Michael. Hey, Final the Mantle. How you doing, Michael?
Have to say.
Nice to see you, Michael. So she did have a lot to share with a local station here in town, WUSA 9, went down to Florida and they interviewed her. She has not been here inside the courtroom. Her sister, however, Joseph Ryan's
Good,
aunt,
working, making a lot
has
of
been.
working
So
a
the
lot, making
local
money. All
station
right.
went down to interview
At least,
her, and she
at least you're making money, bro. That's good. Thank you. I'm glad you hear you're making money.
really shared a lot of details about her son because we haven't heard a lot about her son in this particular situation. And she talked about his background and things that he liked in regard to preferences in his life and things she would talk about with her son. Why don't we go ahead and play a little bit of that?
Justin does ASMR. Don't say you're getting don't say you're getting engaged unless you already know you're getting engaged. She may say no, and then you'll be upset. So be careful.
That interview from WUSA 9.
Talk to me in the way you're most comfortable about what his role was when it came to sexual fetish websites. Did he ever talk to you about involvement in websites like that?
Yes. This was kind of out of character, right? Not that he brought a knife, but the idea of actually cutting a woman. Like he could bring a knife and you just sort of play.
So his mother there talking about that these were some of his preferences. We did see
thank
some of
you,
the messages that indicated that he had
thank you, Sean B.
cut using a razor blade before with his ex. But again, nothing dramatic in
Ali Bugs, thank you very much for your 49 months membership, Ali. You're on 49 months. Oh my God. Wow. That's a very long time, Ali. Wow. Thank you so much for your support and your continued support on my channel. Yeah, I appreciate you so much. Thank you very, very much. Wow. That's a month. That month was, yeah. The months are going fast, man. The months are going fast. Now here you go. We're already in February, guys. February in 2026. Oh my God. I can't even say that year properly. We're in 2026. I barely used the word or numbers. We're in 2025. Now we're in 2026. Holy moly. It is flying by. I'm glad you love it here. We love you more. You here. Thank you, Allie. How you doing, Dr. Eve? How you doing, girl? I said hi to you earlier, but I guess you didn't. You disappeared. Now you're back. Welcome back.
Regard to that, you did mention in the exchanges that the ex had to go to the emergency room, but it was just a really quick situation for her. But mother just talking about them and her relationship with her son. I know we have some more of that interview we're going to be playing a little bit later on, but I can tell you we're in and out of the Fairfax County Courthouse today and inside, right outside the courtroom. So they really have kept the doors locked, so no one can be going inside the courtroom. Of course, some of our crew were able to go in because we're filming the trial, but outside there's just some people, a lot of people from the media.
Brennan's DNA does not show up anywhere on Joe Ryan, which is consistent with what he told you, which is that he.
Wait, did we watch the closing statements? No, we never watched the closing statements. I gotta watch. I want to see one of the closing statements at least. Fuck.
never touched Joe Ryan.
And the lead forensic investigator as well, which I found to be pretty significant under the circumstances.
You guys want to watch one of the? Do you guys want to watch one of the one of the Do you guys want to watch one? I haven't seen either of Dr. Eve. Thank God. I'm glad you didn't. I kind of want to watch the verdict. I kind of want to watch the verdict, yeah, for sure. But I want to watch the closing statements. When was that? Oh, fuck. Oh, man. Sorry. I totally forgot about the closing arguments. Oh, my God. Wow.
I understand.
Let's see. Of course, we guilty. Cakes Boo, what's up, Cakes Boo? Cake Boo.
Versus.
What up, Cake Boo? What the hell is the closing arguments? Cross-examination. Brendan Banfield's. Where's the closing arguments, man? How is it not easy to find the closing arguments? Holy shit. Oh, my God. What's his name? Brendan Banfield. Brendan Banfield. Are we here? Oh, yeah, closing arguments here.
Joseph Ryan have those babies that he was the aggravated murder instructions. They have three parts. You'll first need to find that Brendan Banfield killed Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan. You'll need to find that those killings were willful, deliberate, and premeditated. You'll need to find for one of the counts that those two murders occurred within a 3-year period. And for the other count, that those two murders occurred within the same transaction or occurrence. We know that they were killed during the same event, which played out that morning of Christine Banfield using dating sites, fetish sites, searching for pornography, talking to other men prior to the January
How you doing, Case Boo?
Inception of this scheme.
How you doing, Jebel the Rebel? What's up?
Brendan told you that
Wild Dog, what's up? I'm not going to watch all of it, guys. I'm going to watch pieces of it.
more than 2 years ago, there were incidents of affairs involving rough sex. But you have zero evidence to corroborate that self-serving statement. Think about the 2 days of Mr. Litsky's testimony for the defense and the 3 times that Detective Miller was called to this stand. if there was one scintilla of evidence that supported these claims of infidelity, of interest in sexual violence, don't you think you might have heard about it? The FetLife and Telegram contacts all of
It's
her
working.
on Christine's laptop.
Work.
Frequently while her phone is in use with something completely innocuous. You remember the frozen tickets, the Lululemon shopping, the family vacations the day before the murder? 2 devices, 2 different people. The FetLife and Telegram usage only ever occurred when Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez-Magalhaes are in the home. Is it at all plausible that this woman wouldn't take advantage of an empty house to engage in her plans for adultery? That on the 2 weekends that her husband and the nanny are out of the house, those are the 2 weekends where we see 0 FetLife activity, 0 Telegram activity? Let's look at the chats themselves. Slide 1. How many potential targets were turned down by Juliana and Brendan because they wanted to meet in person first, because they wanted to talk on the phone, because they wanted pictures that included Christine's face? Does this make any sense for someone seeking a new relationship in an area of sexual exploration that would be new to them? Why would the real Christine Banfield have been concerned about taking these safety precautions? For that matter, why would the real Christine Banfield have been searching for someone who was willing to engage in knife play when she had a blood clotting disorder? Why would Christine use a phone from a gym bathroom, a photo from a phone taken in a gym bathroom when she has all of these far better pictures available? That one keeps stumping us.
Yeah.
There are so many more whys, and I'm sure you have plenty of them in your own heads, but the answer is the same to all of these whys, because it wasn't Christine, it was Brendan Banfield with the help of Juliana. Let's talk about our physical evidence. You heard from Detective Leach, Dr. Kessler, Ms. McCarthy, Dr. Greenspoon, Ms. Colombo. She was up there forever with all those lab sheets. They gave us a million things to think about. Slide 4. Christine Banfield died as a result of 7 stab wounds to her neck. She suffered massive blood loss. Next, the knife Brendan used to kill her was a kitchen knife with an approximately 4-inch blade, the kind you use for chopping up vegetables. This was the knife that Joe Ryan brought because Anastasia asked him to. This was not the killing knife that Brendan Banfield had envisioned for his scheme. Next, Joe Ryan was shot twice. Once in the head by Brendan Banfield, incapacitating him. A second time by Juliana in the chest, tearing a large hole through his heart and lodging in his spine. His wounds were rapidly fatal, according to Dr. Kessler, and we saw that there was little to no blood from the chest wound. Iris Daly-Graf told you that he would have been incapable of movement following that second shot. Next. We saw evidentiary confirmation of the affair. The semen stains on Juliana's bed sheets. We also saw the photos of Juliana's clothing moved into the primary bedroom when the search warrant was executed in October following the murders. We saw the photos of Brendan and Juliana together, both before and after the murders. Her photos from her Instagram, their family photos in the bedroom after the murder. We saw the records from the shooting range.
That's fucked up.
For the purchase of the gun and the training of Juliana to shoot it. Slide 8. We saw the deactivation of the automatic locking feature on the front door at 5:47 a.m. the morning of the murders, done from Christine's phone by the person who knew how the locking system operated, Brendan Banfield. We saw Christine's phone turned off at 6:46 a.m. and hidden in a drawer in a bar table in the kitchen. This is just not where you keep your phone. This is not where we heard that this woman kept her phone. This is not where a person who's about to engage in potentially risky behavior puts her source of help. A floor away, turned off, in a drawer, off to the side of the kitchen. Just doesn't make sense. We saw Brendan Banfield drive to McDonald's and hang out, waiting for the call from Juliana. We see their call records, 10 and 11, between Juliana, Christine's phone, which is turned off, Brendan, Christine's phone, which is turned off. They're creating a record. It's a plan. It is premeditated. We see this false attempt to check in on Christine so that they can tell the story to the police when they arrive that they did everything they possibly could. Next, we see the lock at the top of the basement door that Brendan Banfield did not think to engage to protect his daughter. Even under his own version of this event, he agrees he didn't think about it. He left his 4-year-old child in the basement with guns out, stranger in the house,
I fucked up.
and something happening that caused him to be concerned.
He didn't care.
We heard the 911 calls. We have a hang up at 7:47 with Joe moaning in the background, and then a 15-minute gap before anyone calls 911 back. 8:02, 15 minutes between when someone in that house thought the police should be there and when they finally asked for help. We saw the body-worn camera and the photos from the scene. Blankets piled near the bodies. Brendan Banfield kneeling on this blue towel. The towel that has very little staining, completely inconsistent with having been used to stop the flow of blood coming from Christine's neck. We heard that the carpet was soaked through to the subfloor. We saw Brendan Banfield's handcuffs that he didn't use. Magazines full of bullets he didn't shoot, collected from him after the murders.
Full of bullets?
And finally, the blood evidence. You heard from Lieutenant Giacchio and former Deputy Chief Bruce that it was Iris Dallygraff's report that finally pushed this case over the edge and brought the charges against Mr. Banfield months before Juliana decided to flip. That's how strong this evidence is. That's how reliable this evidence is. Ms. Dallygraff walked us through so many inconsistencies in this scene, proving that it had been manipulated. And you heard absolutely nothing from the defense about this evidence. Mr. Banfield gave you zero explanation for any of this evidence.
He didn't know what to say.
Slide 15. They have provided no explanation for Christine's blood smeared on the right hand of Joe Ryan, leaving voids between the fingers.
Leaving
They
what?
have no explanation
Leaving
for
what?
the blood smeared across the top of the right onto the left.
Was it leaving what between the fingers? Hold on.
No explanation for Christine's blood smeared on the right hand of Joe Ryan, leaving voids between the fingers.
Oh, leaving voids. Leaving voids between the fingers. Oh.
They have no explanation for the blood smeared across the top of the right onto the left, leaving that void on Joe Ryan's hand where they had been overlapping. Next. For that matter, you have no explanation from defense for how his hands came to be in that position, neatly folded on his chest, covering the bullet wound that penetrated his spine, immobilizing him. How could that have happened if you are to believe Mr. Banfield? There's been no explanation for the bloody hand-like smears on Joseph Ryan's jeans containing Christine Banfield's DNA. There's been no explanation from defense for how his jeans ended up bunched under his rear.
Beyond Ether. How you doing, Beyond Ether?
Next slide. There's been nothing to tell us why a mixture of Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield's blood, a mixture, could possibly have been on the inside of his waistband at the buttonhole, on the button, and on the zipper. Nothing from the defense to explain how Joe Ryan could possibly have manipulated his pants after being shot in the head, given that no other bleeding wounds were present. If his blood is on those pants, on that button, on that zipper, he was bleeding when they were touched. How could he, Joseph Ryan, have been the one to touch his button, his zipper, the waistband of his pants, to pull them down in that fashion? Brendan told you he never touched Joseph Ryan. And yet we have distinctive finger-shaped parallel lines on Joseph Ryan's arm and small circular stains consistent with blood having been dropped from above while Joseph Ryan lay on his back. Next. And then there's the blood on Joe's hip. Blood that traveled onto his body and then ran down to the floor with the assistance of gravity while he lay prone. It couldn't have come from his chest. That wound barely bled. He was laying down when blood was shed. Makes it pretty impossible that he stabbed Christine Banfield. Next. On the other hand, Brendan Banfield has cast off on his jeans. He has blood all over his hands. The blood stains on the backpack don't line up with the position of its contents. The blood on Joe's face is not consistent with his final position. Potential victims, point before the killing, he decided to kill Christine and Joe. I believe that we've presented you with that evidence as well. For one of the offenses, you find that he killed 2 people within 3 years, as we've identified. Same day, definitely within 3 years. For the other offense, you find that it was 2 people killed during the same transaction or occurrence. They were both killed in the room as part of the same plot, by the same person, same transaction or occurrence. The second offense is for the use of a firearm in the commission of the murders. We know from our experts that Joe Ryan died of his multiple gunshot wounds, one of which came from Brendan. If you have any question about whether or not Brendan can be held responsible when Juliana also shot Joseph Ryan, you'll have instruction O, that is concert of action. So I'm going to read to you what it says. If there is concert of action with the resulting crime, one of its incidental probable consequences, then whether such crime was originally contemplated or not, all who participate in any way in bringing it about are equally answerable and bound by the acts of every other person connected with the consummation of such resulting crime. Virginia makes it easy. Translate. If you think that Juliana Perez Magales and Brendan Banfield were working together to kill Christine and Joseph Ryan, then Brendan can be responsible for Joseph Ryan's death, regardless of which bullet did the most damage. It's not a test of either or. They were working together. That makes him equally responsible. The last charge is the endangerment to Valerie. So while in his custody, that the defendant willfully or negligently caused or permitted the life of such child to be endangered. He made it out to be Juliana's idea, but he brought Valerie into that home. He left her in the basement, knowing that Joe Ryan was upstairs. He left her in the basement while he shot and killed Joe Ryan. He left her in the basement while he stabbed his wife. He could have locked the door. He could have done this on a day she wasn't home. He could have made arrangements for someone else to have her overnight. But that didn't work with his plan. So he's guilty of this offense as well. I appreciate, again, all of the attention that you've given. I appreciate, again, all of the hard work you're about to face. Please be thoughtful in your deliberations. But at the end of the day, I don't think that there can be any reasonable doubt that Mr. Banfield has committed each and every one of the offenses that we have put before you today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Cross-examination, Mr. Chair. I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
closing arguments.
Oh,
May I
easy.
bring a bottle of water up in front of the?
You can.
Thank
I
you.
just need to get the microphone.
It's on. Yeah, it's under something.
Yeah, 20 minutes. This guy's gonna take an hour. I'm not listening to the full defense, guys. It's way too long. He went on for the whole hour. I'm not doing an hour.
My children were younger. I used to walk out of
Paula Fitzhenry, how you doing, Paula Fitzhenry?
the house and tell them, I'm going to defend the Constitution. They didn't have any idea what that was, and oftentimes that became, okay, whatever, Dad. I was a prosecutor then. I was a prosecutor in Fairfax County. And what that meant to me was you presented a case, no matter who it was, you presented a case where you looked at all possibilities and you looked at all evidence to determine and to make sure that you were pursuing someone that the evidence would support. In this case, this was quite unusual. When we first met for the initial opening, I talked to you about some things that I thought you should look into. I thought that you should have an ear towards what is it that they're going to present as evidence. And even I was surprised that the evidence that ultimately was presented by the Commonwealth was actually from my case. The only people that were called to testify from the Commonwealth's case in chief were for body cam video, police officers, a couple of those, and Detective Terry Leach. And he was the one who identified all of the scene photos. He identified many of the pieces of evidence that were brought in. And he was able to talk a little bit about things such as the blood stains on the gun, the blood stains next to the bed. And what he told you, ladies and gentlemen, and this was the extent of, I think, their testimony in their case, was that there are numerous things within this scene that we can see in pictures, but they were never tested. There are numerous things that became the centerpiece of the fantastic story that the Commonwealth tells, yet they were never tested. For example, if I were to have the opportunity to cross-examine, say, the chief detective of this case, I might ask, why wasn't there fingerprints done, or even DNA, of this gun safe that we hear about? We hear Juliana goes into the back bathroom and talks about getting a gun. It changes a little bit over time, but if someone had said they went to the gun safe, because we're talking about guns, we're talking about shooting, why wouldn't there be some sort of evidence to either corroborate or preclude that possibility? I asked Detective Leach, he says, well, it's really up to the forensic examiners. They make the decision. In looking at the scene, you'll notice in the body cam video that you're going to be reviewing, there's a point when first responders come in and you see Brendan kneeling down next to his wife, rendering aid. He just shot Joe Ryan, He testified yesterday, he puts the gun down to his right, which is where his holster is. And he also indicates to you in his testimony yesterday that he moves the knife away from Joe Ryan. The staining on the bed where my client put the gun for the first responders, because whenever there's any sort of a shooting, you have to make sure that you are nowhere near the gun in the event that you're perceived as someone who's hostile. He puts it to the corner of the bed, and the questions that remain were, did anybody ever test the blood on that gun? Can you hear?
Were you really there today? Cat Randall, were you there today?
From Detective Leach, you can't do that. It was already test fired, and now would be potential for contaminant. Now, we didn't test the stains down on the floor where the gun was lying in before it went up on the bed. And we didn't test the gun, which appeared to be something that a serologist could just take a swab of. Yet there's some significance placed on the fact that there was a blood stain where the gun was when it had been sitting in a puddle. And so that actually was tested. In terms of the blood stain pattern analysis, which appears to be the Commonwealth's main focus of the case now, there are questions about many of the things that Ms. Sand says were never tested. And so the conclusions that are being reached in terms of Brendan Banfield did this, he did this, he did this, based upon whatever blood analysis, is oftentimes not considering the fact that it was never tested. We don't even know whose blood it was. Those kind of things are important. And so let's go back to defending the Constitution. When you are charged with presenting a case, and I chuckle a little bit when Ms. Sands says, we haven't proved anything, we haven't shown any evidence. All we've done is show evidence. All we've done is try to get the truth out there. My client doesn't have to testify, yet he gets up there and he tells a story. He's a philanderer. We can conclude that. It's horrible. It's a horrible situation to be in. He had affairs. He accepted that. He told you, ladies and gentlemen, exactly what was going on and exactly how it went. On cross-examination, he admitted to communications that were provided, which were letters between he and Juliana when she was in jail. This is about the truth. In the beginning, you heard our duty is about fairness, our duty is about being just, all those sorts of things. Yet you don't put on any of your detectives. She's referring to the expert that they have that I called. I called 3 times, and you saw his demeanor. He was very uncomfortable. Why would he be uncomfortable? Why would he have been uncomfortable talking about his work?
Wow.
And we dug for it. We dug for it. And he ultimately said, the executive summary and the data remain the same.
Wow.
The only thing that changed is Juliana Perez Magale's statement.
Wow.
Excuse me one second. Litsky, command staff, you're high up in the police department, you can just transfer them. Agree when her lawyer steps in and says, don't sign that.
I fast forward.
And so around March of 2025, you see negotiations essentially end. The number was in the area of $25,000. And it was going to be sent to her mother in Brazil. It's a lot of money in Brazil. And so, where's the downside for her? Where's the downside for her? I mean, there are plenty of people who would make that decision, given the circumstances, given you're 2 weeks from the trial, when your attorney asked for a continuance. And oddly enough, he was asking to find a digital forensic examiner. If they'd done that, maybe that wouldn't have happened. Maybe they would have realized how strong the digital forensics examinations are. Her entire story has been bought and paid for. First, with her freedom, and then now a little bit on the back end. There's a jury instruction in here that says something about corroborated, uncorroborated testimony, and you should be careful of it. Now, how did they try to corroborate her? So isn't this funny? They're trying to bolster the witness who's the centerpiece of their entire case. Well, they found something when my client was arrested on his laptop that said they'd just gotten vinyl light windows in December. So sitting in the meeting with whomever, they say, can you tell us anything about these vinyl light windows? They're triple paned, probably really good. I wasn't there, I don't know. But the story she gave was that, I mean, fantastic. We got the triple pane windows because Brendan wanted to make sure you couldn't hear a gunshot in the bedroom. And and she says, he asked me to go outside and scream to see if the windows, and she says, I'm not going to do that. So she ended up staying inside and saying Brendan went out and screamed. Well, you heard the test. I mean, this gentleman from Vinyl Light Windows came in. They trotted him up there, and he said, "Yeah, you know, we met in January. That was when we first talked about this, and it wasn't just the windows for the bedroom, which is what Juliana said. It was the full windows, and then you saw an artifact on Facebook that is Christine Banfield actually talking to her neighbors about the numerous vendors that they had been working with to try to get a quote from December 2021. So this is well before Juliana came on the scene, but it's an opportunity to try to make her appear in the know, to corroborate her. Well, that was a disaster, and that didn't work. And you heard the gentleman, you know, what the life cycle of order to quotes to all those things, they were all done well before any sort of relationship started with Brendan. Confirmation bias. Rush to judgment. It continues on. Detective Leah Smith tells us the catfish theory was told to them within 2 weeks. She goes on to talk about the theory and investigation and the direction it was going in. During a period of time soon thereafter, Detective Miller tells of his transfer against his will because he was advised he'd never work on major crimes cases again. Sergeant Ames, after receiving communications from Lieutenant Giacchio, immediately sends it up the chain. Could be just the way he does things, or it could be read those emails. Hey, I'm being asked to do this. I need some support here. When you have a theory that gets pushed from non-investigative command staff, and you have a theory that the investigators look at, then you create something called tunnel vision. And that tunnel vision, if you're following what essentially are orders, is to the exclusion of any other evidence, any other theory, such as maybe this is a rekindling of previous fantasies, and the guy who brought the knife to the house is the stabber. You can see how that theory is going to be pushed aside. And you can see how that's not very noteworthy for purposes of media or other attention. Once again, rush to judgment. Catfishing. If you're catfishing, meaning you're
I'm a catfisher.
trying to get the one guy, Joe Ryan, to come to the house so that you can do this gruesome act. Why are you saying anything about, I can't have marks on my face or my body? If you're catfishing, why would that matter? It doesn't make sense. It's inconsistent. However, if you're interested in dabbling in this lifestyle or getting back into it, however you want to say, then that makes perfect sense. There's 9 different conversations on FetLife with different people. And you have all of the FetLife communications. And you can see, why would you have discussions where you're bringing things like no marks, anything like that? All you need is one if you're going to carry out what the government's theory is. Why would you give anyone details about your work or your home or your husband if you were catfishing? I mean, if it's truly catfishing, you're looking for the biggest pile of people that might be considered. If you're telling someone that you have a husband and you want them to come over to the house, why would anybody come? You're losing the potential people that you might want to have there who are violent or, love to do all the things that Juliana has said. Why would you do that if you're catfishing?
Why?
It doesn't make sense.
Why?
On February 13th, 2023, why would there be generic research on secure apps for communications?
Why?
In fact, why was there even a need to transition to Telegram? Because if you're on FetLife, it's clear there are FetLife communications. And so in the world of catfishing, if you think about it, you want to do as few things that can get you caught. So what was the leap to Telegram? It doesn't make any sense. In fact, this whole theory doesn't make any sense. And the only way the government can make any sense of it is if Juliana Perez Magalhaes adopts their story once again. As late as February 19th, which would be 5 days before Christine Banfield's death. Under the government's theory, there were dates that were being explored with 5 different FetLife users.
Oh my God.
His hand shows his hand was closed when the blood was deposited. That's that closed fingers we were talking about. That's what the Commonwealth was talking about in terms of having nothing going in between the fingers. That's holding a knife. That's how that happens, because you're holding it very rigid in order to do that. The bloody handprint on Ryan's thigh is consistent with him touching his own leg with his bloody hands. That's Ms. Groff. The stains on Brendan's jeans and shirt are what you would expect he would get while giving aid to Christine. And we see it. We see it on the body-worn camera. We see it on the still shots. He's leaning down. He's down there on his knees. Interestingly, Ms. Groff says, all I saw was his hands around Christine's neck. I don't know that that's not accurate, but that's probably not what was really going on there, because everyone else said he was rendering aid. The police witnesses, who are more objective than the expert witness for the Commonwealth, all say that he was rendering aid. Testimony by Ms. Groff and the ME indicated that Ryan could move after the gunshot. And what's most important is that there's a DNA mixture of Christine and Ryan on the arm of the jacket where Brendan said he was grabbed. 3 times. 3 times when he was being told by the first responders, go into the bathroom. He said, they're asking, is he okay? He hit me on the right side under the shoulder blade by the arm. He said that. Then in the ambulance, you'll hear that. He says, when they're asking, are you okay? Are you okay? I don't think I'm injured. But he did hit me on the backside of my jacket. In the ambulance, they grabbed the jacket. And then when he was in the hospital, the doctor asks, and he says, he hit me on the back, but I'm not injured. The critical part of that is that the DNA mixture of Christine's blood and Joe Ryan's blood on the jacket was, if you were listening to my client yesterday, he tells you that that was Joe Ryan after he shot him. That mixture of blood with Christine and Joe Ryan himself had to be after Joe Ryan had stabbed Christine in the neck.
Had to be.
And that's the way her blood would get on him in order to be able to get the back of my client's jacket. That's what Ms. Singley says. And that's why the Commonwealth is so intent on saying this had to have been on the floor, this had to have been on the bed. But there's no evidence to support that. There's a story to support it, but there's no evidence to support that. The evidence in terms of what happened in that room, and the crucial evidence is spot A on the back of the jacket, and you have it in evidence, and you also have it under Commonwealth's Exhibit 160, 161, and 167. Now, let's just talk a little bit about the prosecution's evidence. Brendan's DNA is not on the knife. That's also supported by those same forensics reports. He doesn't have any injuries to his hands. That was confirmed by EMTs. In fact, poor officer, I'm sorry, the young man who's 1 year on, I forget his name now. He was brought up to introduce his video and then was asked, well, why'd you let him wash his hands? And you can see my client for a period of probably 40 minutes is literally walking around, you know, in a trance from what he was just involved with. And he was walking around with blood all over his hands. And it was only after he was told that his wife had died and the emotions that come from that, where he was blowing his nose and wiping his eyes and doing all those things, it was offered for him to wash his hands. But that appears to be some sort of a horrible thing that this officer allowed him to do. And it was even an insinuation that my client was trying to cover something up. This was 45 minutes later.
Yeah.
It wasn't as though he went into the bathroom and did it right there after being removed from rendering aid. Brennan's DNA does not show up anywhere on Joe Ryan, which is consistent with what he told you, which is that he never touched Joe Ryan. There's no indication that there was any sort of movement. And frankly, what's the possibility, I guess I'll use the same word, that a 185-pound man would have been moved if he was otherwise dead? It's not an easy task. And Brendan Banfield's an athletic guy, but I don't think he's up to moving 200 pounds in that sort of way. So that's an absolute red herring in this.
Drag him.
When
Mr. Carroll, do you have quite a bit more? I just want to give you a chance to take a
probably
break.
about another half hour.
Yes, let's go ahead and take our morning recess for 15 minutes. Please do not discuss the case at this time and do not do any outside research.
Let's get to the bottom of this. Guys, let's get to the bottom of this.
And stab Christine. If you take away the consensual part of this, if he were found in a bedroom of someone by someone who's a police officer, he'd be looking at a life sentence. In this instance, he was confronted by an armed law enforcement officer saying police. That officer was standing in the only way to get out of that room, other than jumping through the window and falling down 3 flights. He had a gun trained on him, and he was telling him and was told that he was going to be arrested. He had marijuana in his system, and he was angry.
Marijuana?
Who was he angry at?
Marijuana's not a drug. Get out of here.
Could he have been angry at Christine, thinking that she set him up? Could he have been angry at his situation for deciding to go into a house that he didn't know and put himself in this situation? Could he be angry at my client, who was there to try to figure out what was going on and ultimately try to protect his wife? Those are the whys. And if we'd had any investigators that were actually involved in the case coming to the stand, those would be questions that I would want to know, and there would be questions that you would want to know. Because you have a decision before you, and that decision requires a review of all of the evidence. Now, Is it reasonable after a 6 to 8 week affair that someone's going to try to get rid of their companion of 19 years, wife of 12 years? Is that reasonable? You heard from my client. He thinks it's absurd. In pursuing this, the Commonwealth has presented absolutely no forensics evidence that supports that Brendan Banfield had anything to do with this. Yet the story continues. This isn't how justice works. And you can't just come up with a theory and make it fit. They're trying to sell you a story without any facts. And we have the facts. And those facts are in evidence. Those jury instructions, when you see them, you'll realize they're very clear. If you have doubts about the investigation, if you have doubts about how they've conducted this investigation, if you believe that there's something that's been held back in this investigation, that's reasonable doubt. That's reasonable doubt before you even get into the things that negate the possibilities of their case. And these are hard decisions. There's a lot on the line. But know this, if they fell short in what you expect should be the investigation, if they fell short, that's not on you. The jury instructions say you must acquit. And it's not on you.
You done, bro?
I don't have another opportunity to talk to you. It's their burden to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt, so they get the opportunity to speak. So I apologize if I've gone too long, but I wanted to make sure that these important issues came before you. And I leave you with these words. When they lie and manipulate to get someone to make a statement, that's not discovering the truth. That's planting the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. Thank you for your patience. And at the end of your deliberations, I ask that you find my client not guilty of all charges. Thank you.
All right. Rebuttal argument.
All right. All right.
Switch over the mic again, Mr. Carroll.
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, just a couple of last words. Mr. Carroll has a really interesting recollection of the evidence. It certainly doesn't match ours, and I'm guessing it doesn't match yours. FYI, the lab for the coat was 165, not 167. And the DLI lab, it doesn't say anywhere on it that it was touch DNA. It was blood that they tested. Juliana did not repeatedly say that she didn't know how to work Gmail. She said that she did not create the Gmail account, that was Brendan. Giaccio and Bruce had the catfish plan and they peddled it and pushed it to everyone. I don't think that's at all what came out. I think that Mr. Carroll is trying to focus on the HR woes of the Fairfax County Police Department to distract you from the fact that the evidence actually supported that theory and that he has provided you and his client has provided you with absolutely nothing to refute that theory. Why was there so much discussion and disagreement over the digital evidence? Because it could never be that smoking gun. You all heard it from their expert. You can't put someone behind that screen unless you're sitting next to them. So as much as we want it to tell the story here, as much as we want it to be the perfect evidence that proves beyond a reasonable doubt that this thing had to happen, the digital evidence just isn't that. We wish it were, it's not. And Detective Miller did nothing wrong, and Mr. Lidsky did nothing wrong. They just told you the truth. And the truth is that they can tell you what a device was doing, but they can't tell you who was using the device. Juliana Perez Magalis's testimony was bought and paid for. Yes, she pled guilty to a lesser offense in exchange for her testimony. Ms. Frissler made sure you knew that from the get-go. Juliana talked about that. She explained for her reasons why. Nothing was hidden. After her sentence, it sounds like she might have the opportunity to make, 10 grand off of selling her story. She said that she would use that to support her family. And then what? Is she going to work as a nanny? I mean, she's a convicted murderer. Do we really think that it is so reasonable that she made up this complete lie for 10 grand?
Hey,
Really?
we never
If
know.
this version is correct, coming from Mr. Banfield,
You never know.
then she would be set free. She would be as not guilty as he would be. So she's going to give up that shot for 10 grand? I just don't buy it. Whose story is more credible here? Juliana's or Mr. Banfield's? Whose version does the rest of the evidence support? The defendant took the stand and he lied. And he lied about collateral matters. He told you that he had a big career-defining work meeting the morning of the murder. And then you heard from his boss who said, no, he didn't. He lied. He said that he and Juliana did not have a plan to kill Christine at the time that they went to the shooting range. Well, he said not at that time. If he's lying about the things that don't matter, how can you believe a single word he said? And ladies and gentlemen, you have to do that in this case, because without some alternate theory, the Commonwealth's evidence is uncontroverted. So you got to pick one. Juliana, Mr. Banfield. Whose story does the evidence support? All of that blood, the DNA, to some extent, the digital forensics, the physical evidence collected at the scene. That's what you can rely on. Don't rely on his narrative and his recollection of the evidence. For that reason, don't rely on mine or on Ms. Rissler's. Rely on yours. It is your collective recollection of the evidence that you have heard that is controlling. You know what was said here. You know what the evidence is. We trust you to make the decision. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Members of the jury, this is an important case to both the Commonwealth and the defendant. In order to reach a verdict, each of you must agree on that verdict. In other words, the verdict must be unanimous. The first thing you should do when you get back to the jury room is to select a presiding juror. The role of the presiding juror is to see to it that the deliberations are conducted in an orderly and businesslike manner, that they are conducted only in the jury room when all members of the jury are present, and that each juror has the opportunity to fully and fairly express his or her views. It is rarely helpful for jurors upon first entering the jury room to take a straw vote, or for any juror to make an emphatic expression of his or her opinion in the case, or to announce a determination to stand for a certain verdict. To do so before all jurors have had an opportunity to consult with one another and exchange views and opinions might allow your sense of pride to prevent you from retreating from an announced position, even when shown that such position is unsound. You have a duty to consult with one another and to deliberate with the objective of reaching an agreement, if it can be done without offending your individual judgment. Each of you must decide this case for yourself, but only after an impartial consideration of the evidence with your fellow jurors. In the course of deliberation, a juror should not hesitate to re-examine his or her own views and change his or her opinion if convinced it is an error. However, none of you should surrender your honest conviction as to the weight or effect of the evidence solely because of the opinion of your fellow jurors or for the mere purpose of returning a verdict. In the jury room, you will have the exhibits that were entered into evidence. You will have the instructions of law that I just read to you, and you will have the verdict forms. Much of the evidence in this case was in electronic files, so you're going to have a clean laptop that's going to have those files on there for you, and that you will be able to access. And you also have the big TV in the jury room that you can plug in the laptop.
Go.
Theory, Christine logs into her laptop and places her devices in a drawer. She puts the devices away. She gets Lily down into the basement, brings her food to the basement, and gates her in. And she meets Joe Ryan. And they walk up to the master bedroom.
What?
Why? Why would Joe Ryan stab Christine? If you take away the consensual part of this, if he were found in a bedroom of someone by someone who's a police officer, he'd be looking at a life sentence. In this instance, he was confronted by an armed law enforcement officer saying, "Police." That officer was standing in the only way to get out of that room, other than jumping through the window and falling down 3 flights. He had a gun trained on him, and he was telling him and was told that he was going to be arrested. He had marijuana in his system, and he was angry. Who was he angry at? Could he have been angry at Christine, thinking that she set him up? Could he have been angry at his situation for deciding to go into a house that he didn't know and put himself in this situation? Could he be angry at my client who was there to try to figure out what was going on and ultimately try to protect his wife? Those are the whys. And if we'd had any investigators that were actually involved in the case coming to the stand, those would be questions that I would want to know, and there would be questions that you would want to know. Because you have a decision before you, and that decision requires a review of all of the evidence. Now,
Ryan,
is it reasonable after a 6 to 8 week affair that someone's going to try to get rid of their companion of 19 years, wife of 12 years? Is that reasonable? You heard from my client, he thinks it's absurd.
a lot of things aren't reasonable in life.
In pursuing this case, the Commonwealth has presented absolutely no forensics evidence that supports that Brendan Banfield had anything to do with this, yet the story continues. This isn't how justice works, and you can't just come up with a theory and make it fit. They're trying to sell you a story without any facts, and we have the facts, and those facts are in evidence. Those jury instructions, when you see them, you'll realize they're very clear. If you have doubts about the investigation, if you have doubts about how they've conducted this investigation, if you believe that there's something that's been held back in this investigation, that's reasonable doubt. That's reasonable doubt before you even get into the things that negate the possibilities of their case. And these are hard decisions. There's a lot on the line. But know this, if they fell short in what you expect should be the investigation, if they fell short, that's not on you. The jury instructions say you must acquit. And it's not on you. I don't have another opportunity to talk to you. It's their burden to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt, so they get the opportunity to speak. So I apologize if I've gone too long, but I wanted to make sure that these important issues came before you.
I told him that he was going to be under arrest.
Okay.
I missed that. At some point, he asked for me to leave, and at a different point, he asked for himself to leave.
And what did you say to those requests?
At that point, that was when I told him that he was under arrest.
Okay.
Under
can you
arrest.
explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Under arrest. Yeah, sure. You're under arrest, sir.
What, if anything, took place that caused you to discharge your firearm?
It appeared that he did a very forceful stab towards Christine, and Christine kind of spun away from him. So she was facing towards me, and I guess she like rotated as she spun away from him and landed on her stomach on the ground. This kind of had Joe now like on his knees, kind of facing Christine, of which I saw him do a downward stabbing stroke, and that's when I fired at him.
Hey, that's when you fired.
And when you fired, were you able to determine whether or not you made contact?
I didn't know where I made contact, but I believed that I made contact as he moved.
Okay.
He moved backwards. He moved backwards a little bit away from Christine at that point.
And what did you do?
I I immediately hurried towards Christine, and I actually stepped over her. And I told her to stay down as I stepped over her. I did this so that I could look at Joe Ryan and see if he was still a threat.
And what, if anything, did you see when you went over there?
I saw the knife on the floor.
Okay, was that the first time you saw the knife in its full?
That was the first time I could fully see the knife. The other times, it was in his grip and obscured by Christine's hair.
And the knife that you saw is the same knife that you've seen in the Commonwealth's photos?
Yes.
Okay. Before, at some point, did you help Christine?
At that moment, I did not help Christine yet. I used my foot and dragged the knife towards me with my toe to move the knife away from Joe.
Okay, so if you can,
Right.
So that
That's bullshit.
there's an image in their minds. Can you explain from stepping over Christine to doing what you just said with the knife?
I probably need to take another step or two to get closer to Joe. The knife was...
Still with us, trial attorney Philip today. Philip, I just had a hard time believing in the level of details that the defendant provided. And also he's so dispassionate. Now, granted, he was an IRS agent, so perhaps those personalities go hand in hand, but do you find him at all credible?
No, not in the least, to be honest with you. Listen, if Lord forbid, Ashley, you or I ever need to call the cops, we don't call 911 and give our name, rank, and serial number. You don't call and say, yeah, hi, this is Judge Ashley, duly appointed by the governor, sworn to uphold the laws of Georgia and the United States Constitution. And while I got you on the line, I had to shoot someone. It is just ridiculous. It's almost as if he's trying to parade his credentials around, camouflage the guilt behind it all. So, no, I don't think that's going to sit well with this jury. And you know what else nobody has talked about throughout this trial, Ashley? Nobody talks about Mr. Ryan. Imagine that man's shock, his fear, and dismay that he is a sort of quirky, fetishistic, lonely heart looking for some action, getting lured into this coordinated hit. It'll be interesting to see if and when Mr. Banfield is convicted, who comes to court on his behalf for victim impact. Honestly, I'm sure he has touched many lives. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who really care about him. And yes, he's got this unconventional, quirky kink, but he certainly did not deserve capital punishment.
I know. My team and I were talking about the fact we haven't heard much about him. He allegedly lived with his grandmother. We'll stay tuned for that if there is a conviction. Stay tuned. Thank you, Philip Dubé. We're going to continue on a verdict watch in Virginia for the au pair.
All right, let's do it. Let's just get to the verdict, guys. Let's just get to the verdict. Fuck it.
That's the mansion murders trial of Paul Canero. The prosecutors say the Canero shot and killed his brother Keith, killed his wife as well, and then stabbed their 2 young children to death for setting their home on fire to try to cover up the evidence. They say he did it because Keith had found out that Paul was stealing money from the family business. Court is dark there today, so we're getting you caught up on key testimony. Let's go back in for more. We're still listening to that lead detective. He's going over items found at the crime scene.
4 p.m. was the time when Sophia was moved from the porch area and placed into transport.
Investigators had to be transferred out. He presented.
The defendant took the stand, and I think it sort of vitiated any movement they had made or any ball movement they had made in this case in terms of swinging any juror in there. On the front lawn of his home, now Keith.
Over to somebody else.
Yes, it does. On the bottom, it says, so all the items except for the cell phone were covered by me, placed into the temporary evidence vault on the 20th. They remained there until November 26th, when I turned over items number 8 and 9, which are the cell phone and the laptop computer, to Sergeant Brocolieri.
I can take the evidence receipt. Did that essentially conclude the first day on the 20th of your processing of the seat?
Yes, it did.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as S286, 87.
Where's the verdict?
Container or an envelope, and it was ultimately turned over into the stairway that photographs of the electrical wiring.
I thought the verdict was in this video.
Ayala, folks, and of course, as always, we're giving you your front row seat to justice. We are on verdict watch in the Au Pair Affair murder trial for Brendan Banfield. The jury has been deliberating now for 46 minutes or so.
All right. The prosecutor said that Brendan, in closing arguments, that Brendan plotted with the family's au pair to come up with an elaborate plan to kill his wife, Christine, and another man, Joseph Ryan.
Banfield admitted on the stand that he did shoot Ryan, but says it was because he found the man stabbing his wife in their bedroom. Now, in the defense's closing argument, Banfield's attorney says the au pair, Juliana Magalhaes, is the one who actually came up with the plot.
It is now up to this jury to decide which version of the events they believe. Joining us now from outside that courtroom in the very cold is Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Crabb.
Daughter was in the home and he carries on with this, going upstairs, knowing that his child is in the house.
Analyzed from the crime scene. Banfield in the trial saying that Banfield came up with the plan to pose as
possible that this is secondary transfer from something. So
Oh, man.
It's kind of scribbly. So this is from Mariah.
Hold on. Let's go.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ashley Wilcox.
And I'm Michael Ayala. We're both here today giving you your front row seat to justice. And we are on verdict watch in the Au Pair Affair murder trial for Brendan Banfield. The jury has been deliberating now for 8 hours and 16
Over
minutes.
2 days. They started on Friday. They continued this morning. The prosecutor, of course, says that Brendan plotted with the family's au pair to come up with an elaborate plan to kill his wife, Christine, and to kill another man, Joseph Ryan.
Now, Banfield admitted on the stand that he shot Ryan, but said it was because he found the man stabbing his wife in their bedroom. Now, in the defense's closing argument, Banfield's attorney says the au pair, Juliana Magalhaes, is the one who actually came up with that plot.
And now it's up to the jury to decide which version of the events they believe, really to decide, do they believe her, the au pair, or him, the defendant?
Yeah, it's pretty sophisticated for her. I don't know. It's hard.
Come on, man. Let's go. Let's get to the decision.
The time of the verdict reading, please. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, just, I understand. It's the Professor
Finally, here we go, guys.
Take a transcribe of proceedings in this case to the best ability under penalty of law. Thank you. All right. I understand. You can be seated. Thank you. I understand we have a verdict. Are we ready for the jury?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder that I cannot tolerate any outbursts in the courtroom at the time of the verdict reading, please. Thank you.
Okay. I'm outbursting no matter what. Someone killed my kid? Forget about him. I'm outbursting.
All right. And juror number 9, you were the foreperson in this case. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And are these the verdicts of the jury?
Yes, it is.
And are they unanimous?
Yes, it is.
Uh-oh. Unanimous.
In criminal case number FE 2024-666, count 1, we, the jury on the issue, join in the case of the Commonwealth of Virginia versus Brendan Robert Banfield, defendant, find the defendant guilty of aggravated murder of Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield as part of the same act or transaction.
Guilty. Wow.
Case number FE 2024-666, count 4. We, the jury on the issue, joined in the case of the Commonwealth of Virginia versus Brendan Robert Banfield, defendant, find the defendant guilty of aggravated murder of Joseph Ryan within the same 3-year period during which he did also kill and murder Christine Banfield.
Wow. Let's go.
In case number FE 2024-666, count 5, we the jury on the issue joined in the case of the Commonwealth of Virginia versus Brendan Robert Banfield defendant, find the defendant guilty of using a firearm in the commission of a felony.
All guilty.
In case number FE 2024-873, count 1, we the jury on the issue joined in the case of the Commonwealth of Virginia versus Brendan Robert Banfield defendant, find the defendant guilty of child endangerment.
Wow.
With either side, like the jury polled?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Members of the jury, if this is your verdict, please answer yes. If this is not your verdict, please answer no. Juror number 2. Juror number 5.
Yes.
Juror number 9.
Yes.
Juror number 10.
Yes.
Juror number 12.
Yes.
Juror number 19.
Yes.
Juror number 22.
Yes.
Juror number 25. Juror number 28.
Yes.
Juror number 32.
Yes.
Juror number 34. Juror number 37.
Yes.
Thank you.
The court does find that the jury verdict is unanimous at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, this completes your service in this case, and I know I speak for everybody that we thank you in this difficult case for all the time and attention you've taken to it. I do need to do it back to the jury room for one more time, and I'll be back there in a few minutes just to talk to you before you leave, okay? All right, so you're excused to the jury room. Thank you.
Yeah. Guilty. No. He has to be guilty. Why would he? Come on, man. He set that up, man. He set that up. He had to have set that up. Right? Isn't there proof that he set it up?
All right. Mr. Banfield, in accordance with the jury verdict, I do find you guilty of aggravated murder on count 1 of 2024-666 and also count 4 of 2024-666 and count 5 commission of a felony with a firearm of 2024-666. Also on count 1 of 873 of child endangerment, I do find you guilty as found by the jury. Do you wish to have a pre-sentence investigation report, Mr. Carroll?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'll order a pre-sentence investigation report for this case. What date did you want to set this for?
I don't know what dates you would have available.
I could set it for, do you plan to have victim impact statements, I
Yes, ma'am.
assume, and testimony? I mean, I could put it on, well, any day before July 1st.
Understood.
I'm retired then, so let's pick, is April
Life in prison?
far enough for you, Mr. Carroll?
I won't be able to take it.
Sure.
Would there be a particular date?
April
I won't be able
17th
to
is
take
my
it, man.
sentencing
I'll be
day.
pissed off.
Judge, that is the one day in April we would
You
not.
can't do, okay. Well, we can make it a different date in April. I mean, I do have March 20th,
I'd be
but that might be
pissed
too
off.
quick.
I'd be yelling and screaming right now if I was him. Fuck! That's bullshit. I didn't do anything, man. Ah!
And April 17th doesn't work for you?
No,
No,
but
unfortunately.
if you don't
Especially
want
if I
to
was
go,
innocent.
I mean, we could go to May 8th.
Especially if I was
have May
innocent.
8th available, or I could make it any
Get out of here, man.
Friday that you want to go to in April, if that's too far for you, Mr. Carroll.
May 8th is available, Judge. It's only 2 weeks away from April 17th.
Okay, May 8th?
That's fine.
All right, we'll set it for sentencing then on May 8th, and we have the pre-sentence investigation report by that time. And if you need it for a special time, just let me know if we need to move it from the
Yes,
10
ma'am.
o'clock time.
As soon as we've
Okay.
had a chance to speak with the
All right.
witnesses and the victims' families.
All right, anything further for this matter at this time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Judge.
All rise.
Crazy, man. I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed. The daughter just lost both parents? That's crazy. How old's the daughter? Wow. Here he goes. See ya, bro. There he goes. Wow. Man, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. Wow. What can you do, you know? It is what it is. He's fucked. Damn. That's crazy. Let's hear the interview.
There was times, but I've been doing like about 2.
Crazy.
Sorry, Steve. Not a problem. Is the audio okay? I'm used to it. I can wait. Okay. One second. Okay. Everybody else good? All right.
Good? Are we good?
Yeah. You're all good? Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Sure, not a problem. First of all, guys, I just want to say thank you very much for covering this case dutifully and respectfully. There were obviously a lot of salacious details in this case that caused it to get a lot of attention. But at the end of the day, this case is about 2 people, 2 neighbors of ours that were murdered almost 3 years ago here in Fairfax County. We take that very, very seriously. And to start off, I just want to thank the great detectives of the Fairfax County Police Department that put in yeoman's work to get this case here. I also want to thank the people in my office that put in hours during the last couple of years, not least of which are the 3 people standing behind me, Sylvia Villanueva, Kelly Sprisler, and Jenna Sands. You all saw how complicated this case was.
Wait, is this a different case? What case are you talking about, guys?
A lot of digital evidence, a lot of forensic evidence. And this team behind me put it together in a way that a jury could understand. And they did it with professionalism and skill, the type that you will only see in a modern prosecutor's office like that we have here in Fairfax County. So at the end of the day, I am very, very pleased that we are able to stand here successfully having gotten justice for Joe Ryan and Christine Banfield. So who has questions?
See, how would you describe someone who would not only carry out these murders?
So who has questions? Having gotten justice for Joe Ryan and Christine Banfield.
Yeah, they are.
So who has questions?
See, how would you describe someone who would not only carry out these murders, but make up a story like he did, and then get on the witness stand and tell it again?
It's monsters. I mean, that's really what it is. It's monsters. I mean, we are the safest jurisdiction, safest large jurisdiction anywhere in America, meaning we don't have a lot of homicides, but I've been doing this job for a while, and I can tell you that this defendant stood out to me highest above all the other murder cases that we've done in my 6 years here.
Steve, in Juliana's proffer, there were, obviously that was 4 hours long. There was a lot of details. And there was a lot that your office chose maybe not to get into. Talk about what you wanted to highlight for this jury, what you thought was needed to successfully prosecute this case, and maybe some things that you chose not to introduce as evidence.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot in this case. There were a lot of rabbit holes to run down. We knew 2 things going into this case. The case was about the blood. This case was always going to be in the blood. You heard it right from Jenna's opening statement. This case was about the blood. We knew that before we even charged this case. The second thing is we want it to be surgical. We want it to be in, we want it to be out. We didn't need to go through every single little thing. We didn't want to confuse the jury. We didn't want to burden them, and we didn't want to put them to sleep. What we really wanted is we wanted the high level stuff. And you saw that. You saw us focus on the blood. You saw us use Juliana or have Juliana come up there to give flavor to what happened in that room. And then we used the blood, we used the digital forensics, we used everything else to support that and give flavor to that. So I think we asked for 4 weeks, but as we got into this trial, we realized that we could do it much quicker and much more effectively than if we took all 4.
How important was Juliana's testimony? You have the defense saying she has always maintained backing up Brendan Banfield until the very last minute here, and almost saying that you guys were too tunnel focused. Without Juliana's proffer, I mean, do you think we could have gotten to this result?
I think we can. As a matter of fact, we were planning for it. If you take a look at the timeline of the case, we did not authorize charges against Brendan Banfield until after we got the blood analysis done. That is what we were waiting for. And it wasn't until 2 months after we got the blood and we indicted Brendan for these crimes that Juliana decided to proffer and cooperate with us. So we had planned to go forward with just the blood evidence and everything else. And we felt that even with that, we could have put this case on. Now, of course, as a prosecutor, if you have somebody in the room and they want to proffer, they want to turn state's evidence, you're not going to turn that down. You're going to investigate that. We did that proffer, She told us some things that we had not known. We did check on her story. We felt confident in that story, confident enough to offer her the plea deal that we gave her and put her on the stand as part of our case in chief.
Can I ask Jenna a quick question?
Just briefly.
Yeah, let me get the jury and then I'll.
Did you get an opportunity to talk to Mr. Ryan and Christine's family? What did you say to them?
I had before. I did not get a chance to today, and I'm always very hesitant to speak for the victims' families. I know that it was a very, very emotional day. I imagine that maybe we'll be speaking again in the future, but I hope that this verdict gives them some sense of peace and puts them somewhere on the path towards healing after this tragic homicide.
And Jenna, can I ask you a quick question? Sorry.
Sorry.
What's your message to Banfield's daughter?
God, I mean, what do you say to a child in that situation? I don't know if I have a message for her, but I have a hope for her. I have a hope that she spends the rest of her life with people who love her and know that there were people in this world who loved her. And I hope that she always carries that in her heart. Now, Bob, you had a question for Jenna?
Yeah, Jenna.
Yeah, sure.
Take us through the strategy. It was talked about during the trial. I'm arresting her first to get to him.
Sure. Well, there was originally a belief that was born pretty early in the investigation that she was an accomplice of Mr. Banfield's, that there was a plan. As our detectives uncovered more evidence that supported the possibility of the plan, the idea was formed to arrest her based on the evidence that we knew we had, because it would be a successful prosecution, but also with the hope that she would end up seeing the light and coming to us with her story. It was something that we obviously had to wait quite a while for, and to be honest, had given up on at the time that we charged Mr. Banfield. We weren't going to wait anymore. We were providing her with the discovery that she needed to be able to defend herself in her case, and so there was no expectation that she would turn. It was just really happenstance that we were reached out to by her counsel that she was finally ready to talk.
And you mentioned in your closing face to face.
Sorry, say again.
Was that like you had the chance to question him finally on the stand face to face? How do you describe him?
I think that everyone has commented on what was so obvious, that he was not truthful, that he was cold, that he behaved oddly in response to questions that should have elicited emotion, that he never spoke of himself as Christine's husband, that he didn't speak lovingly of his wife, that he showed absolutely no human emotion that we expected to see of someone in his position.
You mentioned your closing. You took the stand, and how do you prepare for?
Sorry.
You mentioned your closing how he wanted to be with Juliana, and hence the possible motive here. Outside of that, is there anything else as far as why he would commit this?
You know, it's really challenging to try to put yourself in someone like Mr. Banfield's mind. And I don't know that I want to try that hard, to be completely honest.
What did he do?
I think that he was obviously hoping for a life with Juliana, and he didn't see a way to accomplish that without executing his wife.
Crazy.
Are you surprised that Brendan took the stand? Do you believe that actually helped your case?
Yes, I, having been a defense attorney for years, I think I would have counseled against him taking the stand. But, Mr. Carroll didn't have a lot to work with. And at the end of the day, if his client wanted to testify, he had the absolute right to do so.
What was the thinking behind giving Juliana such a sweetheart deal?
So I wouldn't necessarily describe it as a sweetheart deal. She does face 10 years in prison. That has not yet been determined.
Oh, she does?
It is.
That woman still faces 10 years in jail. So she's not getting off free. She's not getting off scot-free. She got a 10-year sentence.
Obviously a reduction, and it is certainly reflective of her cooperation. But in order to encourage her to tell the truth, there had to be something. I think that the agreement that she entered into will hopefully allow for the judge to pass judgment on her in a way that is measurable. It will certainly never account for the lives that she was responsible for taking, but I think that the amount of time that she'll serve will be determined by Judge Ascarati, and I'm sure it will be appropriate.
So she hasn't agreed to your recommendation?
Correct. The judge is free to sentence her as she chooses within the statutory limitations.
It's 10 years, even the max is still a gift, right? For someone who's plotted and set up Christine and Joe Ryan. And there's a lot of violence in this murder.
That is absolutely true.
Thank you, Jenna. I also wanted to add to this. You guys have access to Jenna if you have more questions for her. But no, I think it's really, really important that, we don't characterize this as a quote unquote sweetheart deal. This is the work of being a prosecutor. She still is taking accountability for homicides. When you take a look at what the relative culpability is, I think that where we have landed is appropriate. And quite frankly, Juliana, by testifying, answered a lot of questions, not only for us, but for the jury. Let's not forget how important her testimony may have been to some of those jurors. So her still facing up to 10 years in prison is very, very significant and well worth the cost to make sure that Brendan Banfield was convicted for a crime where it is a mandatory life sentence. As the law is written right now, Brendan Banfield will not walk free for the rest of his natural life.
Steve, is there anything else that a lot of times evidence does not get into a trial? What else should people know about this guy?
Oh, you're right.
That you were not able to present to the jury that had convinced you guys he was guilty.
Well, I hate to disappoint you, but for us, the evidence spoke volumes. I mean, we got our evidence in what we thought was important, and I think that, in many ways, we're proud that we let the evidence speak for itself. So there's not really a lot of things that were outside the purview of the jury that led us to some kind of conclusion about what he did or what he did not do. We take a lot of pride, and we know the police take a lot of pride in following the evidence wherever it leads.
What do you hope Brendan Banfield is sitting in there thinking about right now?
I've always, I've been a prosecutor for, almost 15 years now. And I think about what goes through somebody's mind after they've been found guilty. And, quite frankly, my hope with this is that he realizes he didn't get away with it. And I know that sounds cliche, but I think through the evidence, you can see a lot of things that he set up trying to get away with it, thinking that he was going to beat the system, trying to outsmart everybody. I hope he thinks that. And most of all, though, I hope he thinks about his wife and Joe and about what a heinous thing he did, because that's something that he is rightfully going to have to live with for the rest of his life. Any other? Yes, please.
I was just wondering, the references
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, were the relatives there also related to Joe?
Or any Ryan relatives?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't.
They weren't here today, but they have
They- in the
been
past.
in the courtroom.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Steve, rare to have cameras in the courtroom
Yes.
here in Virginia, particularly in a criminal case. A whole big part of the world watching this.
Yeah.
What do you hope the takeaway is for people who've been watching this incredibly salacious story here in our neighborhood? What do you hope the takeaway is for all these people that have been watching this play out?
Yeah, that's a great question, Drew. I think there are a couple takeaways that I hope they come away with. First of all, trials and this world, it's not Law and Order. It doesn't happen in half an hour. It's not black and white. There's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of nuance. So I want them to understand what this work is. But I think the one thing I want people in this community to take away from is they got to see their justice system in action, right? They don't have to read about it. They get to see it. And I hope what they saw is a modern professional prosecutor's office doing a job with a very, very difficult case. I mean, the forensics, the blood, all of these things are very, very difficult to parse, to talk about, to explain to a jury. And the team behind me, quite frankly, they made it look easy. And I think that really speaks to the level of professionalism, not only in the prosecutor's office, but with the courts generally, as well as the investigation of the county police department, which is top notch.
Steve, how about cameras in the courtroom all the time?
Well, I love it. I honestly, I would not be opposed. We are proud of the work that we do here as a law enforcement apparatus in Fairfax County. We have nothing to hide. I would love everybody to see every one of our trials and see what goes into the decision making. We do almost 20,000 cases a year. And for people to really understand the nuance and how we agonize over a lot of these decisions to try to do justice, I think that would be great for this community to see.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Just have one more.
Yes.
Sorry. The plan was very out of the normal realm, or very extraordinary. Do you ever get any sense as to how this plan came about? Do you have any Seriously, that's what most of
Well,
us are asking, right?
I gotta say, it might be glib, but you if you watch the trial, you might have been able to see it. But no, but in all seriousness, no, we just have the evidence, and quite frankly, our job is to follow the evidence. And we heard what Juliana said, we heard what Brendan said. Those are our clues into what happened. But at the end of the day, we presented the evidence to the jury, and we're just very, very pleased that we're able to stand here knowing that we got justice for Joe and Christine.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it, guys. Yeah.
Guys, thanks.
Hey, we got
Absolutely.
it.
Thank you. Thanks for sticking it out
You bet.
all day today.
Absolutely.
10 years is still a long deal. That's still long, right? 10 years? I don't know. Nice looking people here. Good looking ladies and gentlemen, It's sad that these people have to do this. That's sad, man. Beautiful. Beautiful people, man. Let me tell you, beautiful. Really, really sad that now they can't become a dad. Sucks, bro.
We're on a verdict watch.
We're on a verdict watch.
We're on a verdict watch.
Oh my God.
Christine's hair was...
Forget it, I can't watch this. Never mind.
Juliana told us how the plan was crafted and how it played out that morning in the Banfield house. You needn't rely only on Juliana's story. There has been...
I understand. You can be seated. Thank you. I understand we have a verdict. Are we ready for the jury?
Yes.
Nah, we're not ready. Nah, not really. No verdict. William Brock sentenced to death. Oh my God. That guy's a psycho. William Brock. Mother of three shot to death. Damn. Mother of three shot to death by Zachary Gilbert. Jesus Christ. I want to watch that trial. Was that trial ever on YouTube? Zach Gilbert, Zachary? Day 12, the Mansion. I don't know if I have time to do the Mansion murder trials. Do we have time to do the murder Mansion trials, guys? Or no, we don't have time for that. So it's almost over, or what? Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Little Miss Sharon. How you doing, Little Miss Sharon?
The views and opinions.
Most shocking trials in recent prosecution has not taken body language reveal. This is so significant, so important in a case that.
A lot of this hedging language.
I'm really into podcasts, guys. I can't watch a podcast. A podcast is kind of boring for me. Boring. Interview with a killer. Catfishing for murder. Interviews with a killer. Who's that? Denali Brenner? You heard of him? A year ago. I don't know. I don't know. I wanted to watch that video I had. Where is that video I had? Oh my God, it's been such a long time. What video I was watching the other day with damn it. What's her name? Law student murder trial. Wow. Day one. A law student murder trial, day one, guys. Snowball, roller, clean, train. What the heck? I can't remember the name of that thing. Oh, fuck. What's her name? I'm gonna watch later videos. That. Brian. Copy. Oh yeah, that case. I want to watch that too. Maybe I should watch. Yeah. 4 months ago.
Prayers.
But that was another case. What case was it on? Drama. Oh my God. Was that David? DV4D. DV4D. D4VD.
Which is convincing people that in that video he was justifying his bad actions.
So what inspired the hook, "In the Back of My Mind You Died," is kind of like the storytelling aspect of the lyrics that came before it.
Oh my God. News update. Oh. Let me see. I was looking for the
a huge step forward in the investigation. Neo Langston was arrested and fingerprinted and will testify in front of the grand jury.
I want to know, how many times have they seen her? Was there any kind of trauma that they've ever witnessed that was inflicted upon her? Who else was in that house?
David seemed to have this infatuation with knives. There's a lot of pictures of him with like switchblade looking knives.
The way she was treated, she's objectified, she is dismembered. I think that they treated her like she is a play toy.
Yeah, dismembered her. They dismembered her.
Breaking news, a plea deal. And tonight, D4VD, a.k.a. David Anthony Burke, a.k.a. murder suspect, is cooked as an arrest goes down in the death of Celeste, a 13-year-old little girl found dead, allegedly dismembered in Burke's Tesla trunk. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
LAPD, booked for dodging a mandated appearance as a material witness in the homicide investigation, Langston is held without bail at the Lewis and Clark County Jail in Helena.
Could somebody just surprise me? Just one time. Can a defendant not be found hiding under his mother's bed? Day one, straight out to private investigator who has become enmeshed, embroiled in the D4VD, David Anthony Burke case. It's Steve Fisher, now high-profile private investigator, missing person private investigator, search and rescue expert. Steve Fisher. This all started when Langston, a.k.a. Neo the Asian, refused to come to grand jury, and they have to go look for him. And of course, he's hiding under mommy's bed in Helena, far, far away from that grand jury proceeding. So they drag him back.
Wow.
That sparked discussion of a plea deal. And I think they're right. Now, some outlets misquoted you, stating that you thought D4VD, Burke, is going to get indicted. But I think that's backwards. What do you think, Fisher?
Well, you said that about D4B getting indicted. They quoted me saying is that he may be getting a plea deal, and then I did not say that. What I said was the fact that they were bringing Langston in on that failure to appear, and I think he might be getting an immunity deal because, quite frankly, I'd expect him to possibly be a target. I mean, you wouldn't typically expect them to bring a target in front of the grand jury like that, and it makes me think
Hold that thought, Steve Fisher. I think you're right. Let me go to high-profile defense attorney joining us from this jurisdiction is Joanna Nieves, criminal defense attorney, founder of the Nieves law firm. Joanna, here's the deal. Let me just break it down. He has a choice. He can either be a co-defendant or he can be a witness. That's how I'm seeing it from here. Because I guarantee you, Joanna, LAPD, and I've heard this from an inside source, has this huge, huge wall, and they have digital tracking of phone calls, GPS locators, nav system of all of D4VD's friends, including him, which means they've got it down to the minute. If Langston, aka Neo, was traveling along in a car, and I think I've identified one thing they're looking at, Joanna, it's the night that D4VD goes out into a densely wooded forest area late in the night, 2-3 a.m. Many people think to dispose of a body or scout a spot to dispose of a body. If it turns out that Neo Langston phone was traveling along with D4VD's, he's up the you-know-what creek without a paddle. So he can choose. Did you dig the hole or do you want to end up in the hole, Langston?
So this is all assuming that he's got information to offer that might incriminate David or even himself, but he may be being called in to stick a timeline down. He may be exculpating David in some way, or another person who is a person of interest in the matter.
I'm sorry, I just choked on my tea. Hold on. Well, let me see her, please. Joanna Nieves, did you just say with a straight face that LAPD puts out a interjurisdictional warrant and tracks down Neo Langston, who is D4VD's bestie, because he has exculpatory evidence that may exonerate Burke? That is not why they dragged him by his toes out from under mommy's bed. No, because he has evidence. It's a grand jury investigation and charging arm.
Absolutely.
Please, let's be real.
They want the information, but also they're required to provide all of the information, not just the things that want to paint the picture that they want to put in front of the grand jury. The grand jury may have additional questions, and Neo Langston may be able to shed light on times, places, locations, and relationships. So it may not necessarily be about this one Santa Barbara trip. It may even be just about what was the nature of the relationship between David and Celeste, if there was anything inappropriate, as many people have been speculating, but there's also speculations of what the relationship may have been between Neo and David himself. So I think that really we don't know what his testimony will be. I do find that it's probably going to be obviously material, that they went through these great lengths to get him there. But ultimately, just because he didn't show up doesn't mean that he's got something incriminating for himself or somebody else. He may have just been putting his head in the sand, hoping that this thing disappeared without having to participate.
Can I ask you a question?
No.
Where did you go to law school?
Florida State, go Noles.
That's a great school, and you've tried a lot of criminal cases too. But I can guarantee you this technical legal term: they did not drag him back to ask him, "What's your relationship with D4VD?" That did not happen. He was dragged home from Helena, Montana, back to LA to testify in front of a grand jury and put in jail. And that's not to find out if he and D4VD were up braiding each other's hair at night. Speaking of that, Steve Fisher, do you agree or disagree with Joanna Nieves? And I'll tell you what she's doing. She's a world-class defense lawyer, and she is painting a pretty picture, a pristine picture for Neo Langston. But I guarantee you they did not drag him all the way back to LA from Montana to find out about his relationship with David Anthony Burke. I want to hear about the disc you found in D4VD's home. What photos were on the disc?
What photos?
Well, there's 1,100 photos on it. There's a ton, but Neo is in a lot of them with David, and they have a very close relationship. He's at the house
they
a
gay?
lot. He's
Yo, they gay? I didn't know he was gay. Oh my god, that's gay.
Him and about like two other people.
That's gay. They're boyfriend and girlfriend, or boyfriend and boyfriend. What?
Seem to always be around.
Oh my god!
What worries me about this bringing him back is that they even need his testimony, because if they haven't been able to make the case 5 months later and they need his testimony, I would think he'd be a target instead of a witness, so that's what worries me, that maybe they're going to offer him an immunity deal, which I would hate to see if he has any involvement in this.
Wow.
Okay, because I was trying to figure out why you're worried about it.
You'd rather be a witness,
but I see what you're saying. You want everyone potentially involved in the death and the dismemberment and
I'd rather be a witness.
The disposal of her body, Celeste, to be prosecuted. I agree. Look at her. Don't take down that picture. That is Celeste. That is Celeste. A few short years after that, she's dead. And I want to find out why. I'm with you, Fisher. Hey, Fisher, another thing. Guys, the reason Steve Fisher became embroiled in this is the owner of the D4VD mansion hired him to find out what the hell was going on. He had the permission to go into the home and search. Where did you find the disc?
She didn't care about the parents.
It was left behind in the house. They moved out pretty hastily, and they left a lot of stuff behind. And it was just a memory card from a camera, and it was on the floor, and we were able to recover the images from it. So it was just left behind, but it was a very quick move out, and they left a tremendous amount of stuff behind it, including the burn cage, including the chainsaw, and a lot of things. So
is there blood on the chainsaw?
Let me ask you something. On that disc, you said there were about 1,100 images, including D4VD and Neo lying in bed together. Were they clothed?
Yes. Yes, they were.
And photos of them curled up together on a sofa, were they clothed?
They were. And a lot of these have already hit the internet, because some of these he actually took off the camera and posted, like you're showing on the screen now. These are the type of images, but the focus seems to be between him and his relationship with him.
Were there any women on there, any naked photos of women, or is it all Neo and D4VD?
Yeah, there's no provocative photos. It's just women kind of in the background, actually, of him and Neo.
Okay, let me be clear, Steve Fisher. Let me see, Steve Fisher. I don't care who is whose boyfriend or girlfriend, or who's sleeping together, who's not sleeping together. Really don't care. What I care about is if there is an unbreakable bond between Neo Langston and David Anthony Burke, also known as D4VD. Because if there is an unbreakable bond, I'm not going to get anything out of Langston. He's not going to give it up. And if he's only being charged with failure to appear as a material witness, that's a very light sentence. He'll be in and out in no time for basically a contempt charge. So bottom line, he's going to have to be given immunity. And the reason he has to be given immunity is if you're a target, you can take the Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. If the state says, okay, you've got immunity, we can't prosecute you. Under the law, you can no longer take the Fifth Amendment. So what you said at the get-go is correct. Trying to find out if he's getting an immunity deal. Is he going to be a co-defendant? Because if he's along for the ride, that's aiding and abetting, slam dunk. Or is it more? Okay, while I've got Fisher up on the screen, isn't it true, Steve Fisher, that you amassed ring cam and other video of the neighborhood as D4VD's Tesla was moved from spot to spot? Isn't that true?
Yes, it's true.
And isn't it also true that you saw the face of who was driving the Tesla? Isn't that true?
That is true. I know where this is going.
Was it Neo?
I can't say. We've been through this before. I can't. It will come out. I can't. Listen, I don't want to take the chance of somebody. There's somebody taking justice in their own hands. And that's really a possibility in this case.
Well, if it wasn't Neo, then why would people take justice into their own hands?
Well, until we know, what people's roles are, and whoever the driver was, I don't think people should be, I think it needs to go through the court process. And I would hate to be responsible for putting a name out there than somebody getting hurt because there was vigilante justice.
You're worried about putting who out there? And getting hurt?
Anybody that happened to be driving a Tesla that day.
Because I think you said him. Have you handed all this over to the LAPD?
Of course, yeah. No, we handed it over, the day that we did it with a report, breaking down frame by frame.
Got another question for you, even though you're not point blank giving me a name. Steve Fisher, was it just one person moving the car, or did that person come with a buddy? Were two people moving the car at the same time?
No, I will say it was one person.
One person. Every time the car was moved, because it was moved several times, was it always the same person moving the car?
So we only have a surveillance of being moved that last day, which was July 29th. It's escaping me right now. That last day, which is the day they left for tour, we only have the surveillance of that. We have reports from neighbors of where the car was parked back in May and stuff, but that surveillance, unfortunately, had been overwritten.
An out-of-state warrant issued by LAPD is a failure to appear when Langston fails to appear as a mandated witness for a grand jury in the homicide of Celeste. Montana police assist LAPD when Langston captured at his mother's house in Helena. Langston taken to Lewis and Clark County Jail, held without bond, before being transferred into the custody of LAPD, extradited to LA and booked.
A plea deal in the works? That's the question tonight. This after the arrest of D4VD David Anthony Burke's best friend and running buddy, Neo Langston, a.k.a. Neo the Asian. Okay, straight back out to Steve Fisher joining us, private investigator hired by the owner of D4VD's mansion. Steve Fisher, you mentioned immunity when you first started talking. Why did you say that? What are your sources telling you?
Well, I just think that if indeed this is for a grand jury failure to appear, if they need him, I think they're bringing him in as a witness and not as a target. And I think he would have gotten a target letter. And like you said earlier, he'd plead the fifth. So if they need him and he's got information, that means the case made yet in my mind, and he probably offered immunity. And I just can't believe it. Point in 5 months later, and with all the digital evidence that's out there, that they need his testimony. But if they do, then I'm afraid for the case, to be honest with you.
And there you see Neo Langston handcuffed, hands behind him with armed law enforcement wearing tack gear, putting him in the back of a cruiser. That's from our friends at the Independent Record. And again, I find it really hard to believe that he's just coming in to discuss his relationship with D4VD.
Well, maybe more.
Under mommy's bed. Dr. Cheryl Errett joining us.
We don't know
Clinical
what he
forensic
knows.
psychologist.
We gotta find out what he knows.
Find her at creativeemdr.com. Dr. Eric, thank you for being with us. Why does everybody go home and hide out at mommy's house? I mean, I've said it a million times at a BF calendar, bond forfeiture. Here's his mom's address. Just go straight out there. I'll wait. He'll be back in about 20 minutes. Why?
That is such a great question, Nancy. And I think it's because it is the safest place in the person's mind when they are running and they don't know where else to go. Running to mom is the place to be. And you're right. It could save everybody a lot of time to just head right there. Absolutely.
Alexis Tereszcuk joining us there in LA, Crime Stories investigative reporter. Alexis, what do we know about Neo Langston? What do we know about his relationship with D4VD? What do we know about a potential plea deal going down for either him, Langston, or Burke?
What we know about him is Neo Langston is a Twitch streamer. So he plays video games online and other people join him and watch him. Super popular, very well known. He and D4VD are best friends. Some people think that he's actually his assistant. So he would help him out with everything, you know, with travel and business and booking anything for him, not his record label, just his personal assistant. They are together all.
His lover. He's his lover. What about lover, minds? Probably having sex.
The time. They're constantly together. Photos, videos, appearances live. He was there by his side for a very long time. The plea deal is just coming to light. Perhaps there may be one. The thing is, he has only been charged with failing to appear as a witness, nothing else. And as you remember in court a couple months ago, there was concern that this witness didn't show up. It stopped the grand jury proceedings. D4VD's representative from his record label was saying, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. I wasn't the one that was in charge of like turning him into the police or anything like that. But the prosecutors really wanted to speak to this Fred Langston. He did not show up. They expected him to show up. They were all in court that day. So it took a couple of weeks for the LAPD to get the warrant and have it served in his house in Montana, or his mom's house in Montana. There so far has not been any release of a plea deal. And again, he was only brought here just because he failed to appear as a witness.
Who are you talking about, Case Boo? Who was found guilty, you mean? What do you mean, who?
Yes. So the prosecutors want to talk to him. They want to know exactly what he saw when he was in this house, because he appears to be D4VD's closest friend.
Well, you know, Alexis Tereszcuk, I hear what you're saying, but he can be a witness today and a defendant tomorrow based on what happens at this juncture. Many times you and I have investigated and covered cases where we start off with one charge and it morphs into something much more serious. The only thing that makes me believe he will remain a witness is because he was called to testify, and you can't make a target testify.
And the thing is, he has seen so much more with him than Celeste ever was. There's so very few pictures of Celeste. You know, the last one we have is from over a year ago at this point, really almost 2 years. But Neo and D4VD are together all the time. So he may just have seen something. They just want to talk to him right now, but he refused to come into the grand jury, fled the state, hid out with his mom, but then the LAPD brought him back.
They've got a chart at LAPD that you would not believe. They've got this thing down to a timeline that's almost by the minutes triangulated to the location, if you can believe that. And it's not just one source. When I say triangulated, it's media, social media, cell phone, Tesla, other, and all I'll say is other kind of GPS tracking devices.
This from our friends at Two Angry Men, Levin and Garagos. Hi guys, Nancy Grace here. Between the grocery store and insurance premiums, even with a steady job, more families are being forced to rely on high 6, 888.
Under the chainsaw. Hard work.
They did not see. They did not fingerprint them. They did not luminol them. I mean, that's bad police work right there.
No.
A plea deal in the works in the death and disposal of a teen girl, Celeste Rivas. This, as the very best friend of D4VD, aka David Anthony Burke, is caught at his mother's house in Helena, Montana, and brought back to LAPD. Who is Neo Langston?
Neo Langston is not only a close friend of Burke, but is also a popular Twitch streamer often referred to as Neo the Asian. Neo is known for his high-speed, energetic streaming persona and vlogs featuring his buddy Burke.
You are seeing video now of Neo Langston and D4VD straight out to forensics expert, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon, and star of a hit.
Guys, I gotta go to bed, man. I gotta work in the morning. Chloe, Case Boo, what are you saying, Case Boo? I gotta go to work in the morning. I'm sorry, guys. 2:30. It's almost 2:30. They're almost playing hide the sausage. He was found guilty. Guilty. He was found guilty. Case Boo, who was found guilty? Nobody wants to respond. All right, guys. See you tomorrow. No, you don't respond, then fuck it. Where are you going to Germany? I'm going to Germany on Wednesday evening. I have a 7 p.m. flight. 7 p.m. flight on Wednesday. March 3rd. February 3rd. No. February 5th. No. When is my flight? Tomorrow. February 4th. That's my flight, February 4th. You're going to miss me? No, you're not going to miss me. Chloe, Caseboo, why are you ignoring me? Ask Caseboo why she's ignoring me. I'm trying to talk. She's ignoring me, guys. Caseboo's ignoring me. All right, I'll continue this video tomorrow, guys. Bye, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's my last stream. I won't be streaming for the rest of the week until next Wednesday, next Thursday. So, but I'll live stream from Germany on my phone. I'll live stream on my phone, guys. My mom's funeral is Friday afternoon. See you tomorrow, Ray Ray. Bye, everybody. Case Boo, can you hear me, Case Boo? Hello? Okay. I can't see her. I mean, she can't see me, I don't think. What in God tarnation is going on here? Ay, qué chulada.
So, Brian?
Let me help you, Brian!
What did you do? You're living it every night, aren't you, boy? Turn yourself in, Brian. Once in your life, be a man.
You like the yawning doing? Whoa!
She was just watching. Remember, no, she wasn't doing that. I was just saying she was talking.
Got it.
But she was mainly watching pop.
Good night, everyone. Good night, everybody. I love you all. Thank you for your support.
She was beautiful.
I appreciate it, guys.
She was chasing
Thank
her
you very
dreams.
much. Have a good night.
She was excited. She was hopeful. She was in love. She wanted a partner. She wanted support. She wanted to be cherished. She trusted him. She was anxious. She was overwhelmed. She took responsibility. She was scared. She was manipulated. She was abused. She didn't deserve this ending. She didn't deserve the abuse. I will say her name. I will share her story. I will spread awareness. And I will use my voice because hers was silenced. Her life was stolen, but her legacy will live.
Yelling at the sky, screaming at the world. Baby, why'd you go away? I'm still your girl. Holding on too tight, head up in the clouds. Heaven only knows where you are now. How do I love again? How do I trust again? I stay up all night, tell myself I'm alright. Baby, you're just harder to see than most. I put the record on, wait till I hear your song. Every night I'm dancing with your ghost. Every night I'm dancing with your ghost. Never got the chance to say your last goodbye. I gotta move on, but it hurts to try. How do I love again? How do I trust again? I stay up all night, tell myself I'm alright. Baby, you're just harder to see than most. I put the record on, wait till I hear your song. Every night I'm dancing with your ghost. Every night I'm dancing with your ghost. How do I love again? How do I trust again? I stay up all night, tell myself I'm alright. Baby, you're just harder to see than most. I put the record on, wait till I hear your song. Every night I'm dancing with your ghost. Every night I'm dancing with your ghost. Every night I'm dancing with your ghost. Her blonde hair fell around her like a halo. She was an upstate New York angel without wings. Her smile shone brighter than a morning sunrise. Her laughter put the songbird's voice to shame. When you see a butterfly over a weeping willow tree, or a rainbow, or a wildfire on a grassy mountain peak, She's home with Mother Nature, yes she is. In the heaven on this earth, that's where she lives. That's where she lives, that's where she lives. That's where she lives. That's where she lives.
Guys, for me, it's how nice you are for me. Oh my gosh, it's how much you make me laugh. It's how hard you always laugh for me. Okay, we go. It's you're really cringe.